Hey guys, how's it going? So today we're going to be doing a legendary weapon review of sorts, and I have a pretty interesting weapon this time. It's called the Irradiated Gamma Gun, and as you can see I have 420 radiation damage. And I believe this to be the most amount of radiation damage you can get on a weapon in this game so far. And I say that because I have the Nuclear Physicist perk all the way ranked up, so I have a pretty big increase to radiation damage on weapons. So radiation weapons now do double damage, so that basically doubles the damage of this weapon. And I also put the attachment that further increases the radiation damage, which is the deep dish, so better range and damage. You can see the radiation damage goes down by 100 if I were to take it off. So we're sitting at a pretty solid 420 radiation damage, and we're going to test this weapon and I guess really see how radiation damage functions and see if this weapon is any good. Alright, well here we are at Corvega Assembly Plant. There's people fighting somewhere, but I just wanted to test this weapon on the raiders here because
What the fuck was that?
people are susceptible to radiation damage, so yeah, that's pretty interesting. Although I don't think it's... Oh no, it is. It's actually doing damage to the turret. I'm just kind of curious to see how radiation really works. Oh, that person went flying. Because this weapon doesn't seem very good to me, but it's actually not that bad.
They always gotta fight back.
Yeah, so this is pretty interesting. I would assume that if you get hit by this weapon, it would say something like plus 420 radiation damage in the bottom left, as if you were actually taking radiation damage. So I think what's actually happening is when you get radiation damage, your max health reduces because you have that red bar that takes up some of your health. So what's essentially happening here is I think I'm actually reducing the enemy's max health down to 0. So even if they have full health, their max health is 0, you know what I mean? So I guess by reducing their max health, we're actually killing them. So yeah, this is a pretty interesting weapon. I wonder if I'm hitting both of them. Oh yeah, I was shooting at this guy, and I killed the other guy. That's funny. So there is a certain type of splash damage that goes along with this weapon. And also depending on the enemy's radiation resistance, it's going to do varying amounts of damage. Kind of like if an enemy had ballistic or energy resistance, that's going to reduce the damage of your weapon, but in this case it's radiation. Yeah, so headshots don't do any more damage than body shots. Probably because the projectile just pretty much envelops the entire body. Since there's splash damage, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of like hitting an enemy with a fat man. As long as they are hit with the actual shot, it's just going to do a ton of damage. So yeah, this is pretty strange though. I've never actually used a gamma gun very seriously, because I never thought they were very good weapons at all, but I guess if it has a high enough radiation damage, it can be a very useful weapon. Or decent to an extent against enemies that can take radiation damage. Because keep in mind, this is the most radiation damage you can do with a weapon, I think, in this game. So, you know, we are killing level 7 enemies in 3 shots, which isn't too bad, but at the same time, there are weapons that are better. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Two shots for an enemy without any radiation resistance, it looks like. Not too bad. So what I was talking about earlier is if you get hit by a weapon like this that does radiation damage, it would have a, kind of like it says +3 in the bottom left right now, it would say something like +420, because that's how much radiation damage we're actually dealing. And I believe this would only be the case with enemies that actually take damage from radiation and that aren't healed by it. So enemies like ghouls are actually healed by radiation, so this weapon would not help if you were trying to kill a ghoul or a super mutant or a deathclaw. It would just work in reverse. But up against enemies like humans, you would pretty reliably take them out with 2 or 3 shots, maybe 4 shots if they have a lot of resistance. So let's just say, for instance, that there's a human in power armor, and that power armor for some reason doesn't have any radiation resistance. You would actually be able to take out the person inside with about 2 or 3 shots from this weapon, provided that they don't have any radiation resistance, and you would essentially reduce their max health to 0. Or at least that's what I'm understanding about radiation weapon mechanics. I'm not really sure completely on that, but there is a strange thing where you can actually take out enemies like turrets that obviously aren't even human. So it's interesting they even take radiation damage at all.
What the hell was that?
But
There you are, you little
I guess there is some sort of ballistic thing to it. I'm not really entirely sure, but so hopefully this proves what I've just told you, but we're going to test this out on some feral ghouls and see if it hurts or heals them. Because I guess that's really what determines what type of damage radiation damage actually is. Now from the looks of it, I think it does a little bit of ballistic damage because it was damaging the turrets. But other than that, I believe, see, this enemy has 1000 radiation resistance. But it looks like he's... Nope, it's not doing any damage. So this enemy is essentially healed by radiation. Alright, so now let's see if the Gamma Gun actually heals the feral ghoul. Yeah, look at that. So his health is all the way back up. Because we did radiation damage, we basically gave him 420 health. Yep, so that didn't do anything. Critical strike or not, radiation weapons don't do any damage whatsoever against enemies that have 1000 radiation resistance. So that was a quick look at the Irradiated Gamma Gun. Overall, a pretty interesting legendary weapon. Like I said before, this may be the highest radiation damage weapon in the game. And from using this weapon, we learned a couple things, one of which radiation just heals enemies that are irradiated enough to where they've actually, mutated, like super mutants or ghouls. If you hit them with radiation damage, it actually just gives them health back. Although, strangely, enemies that aren't human or even living, like turrets or robots probably, they also take damage from this weapon even though it's simply radiation. And then, of course, humans take the most damage because they have a capacity of 1000 radiation until they actually die. So that's why I said it's a reliable 2 to 3 shot kill, depending on their rad resistance, because 420 times 3 obviously is about 1200, so that exceeds 1000, which is of course the limit for radiation that humans have. And I think that's actually been a pretty typical thing in Fallout games, at least for Fallout 3 and New Vegas, is that if your radiation level reaches 1000, you actually just fall down and die because you have such bad radiation sickness. So like I said before, that's essentially what happens when using this weapon against humans. You're not exactly removing health from their health bar, but you're more or less just reducing its maximum capacity down to 0. So yeah, that about does it for this video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you leave a like and share. It really helps with the video's performance. Also, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.
Got a doll baby, I love her so. Nothing else like her anywhere you go. A man, she's